Now is pan Mr. Mohammad Hazrati speaking from Singapore. Mr. Hazrati, are you online?
Yes, I'm online.
Okay. We can
Could you
see
hear
you.
me? Could you see
Okay.
me
Yes.
properly?
Yes.
Thank you.
So
And should I share the slides or no?
no, we don't see your slides, your presentation.
Okay, don't worry.
You have 15 minutes. Please start.
Sure, thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Mohammad Hazrati, a senior research fellow at the Center for International Law at the National University of Singapore. First of all, I want to express my sincere apologies for not being able to come to Poland. Unfortunately, I became quite sick just before flight and had to cancel it. It's a real shame to miss this great opportunity to take part in person in such a wonderful conference. I want to thank the organizing team for providing me with this opportunity to present my work online. Let me save the time and start my presentation, which is about governing critical minerals for a just and sustainable energy transition in ASEAN, insights from the EU. Actually, my research asks how we can develop a just and inclusive approach to governing critical energy transition minerals as a necessary step toward achieving a just and inclusive energy transition. To explore this question, I use a doctrinal case study and comparative methods, focusing mainly on the regional and international levels rather than national one. So as we all know, the world is facing a growing climate emergency. To address it, a major shift from fossil fuels to renewable energy system is inevitable. Global renewable capacity is projected to triple by 2013 and to increase eightfold by 2050 compared to 2022 level. So clean energy technologies are at the heart of this transition, but they're also highly mineral intensive. They depend heavily on what we call critical energy transition minerals. So achieving a net zero emissions will require a massive increase in these minerals, roughly a six-fold rise in minerals inputs by 2014. There is no, when it comes to definition of these critical minerals, we should say that there is no universal definitions. There are some criteria some people say about it, like these minerals are essential for modern technologies, for economies, for national securities, or their supply chains are vulnerable to disruptions, but there is no any consensus about the definition of these critical minerals. One of the main concerns linked to critical energy transition mineral is market concentration. So their refining and processing are heavily concentrated among a few countries, and so it increases the risk of the supply disruptions. There are many reports, many studies working on this vulnerability, but we know that the concern is not only, the market concentration. It goes beyond that, and it includes environmental and human rights issue as well. And also right to clean, healthy, and sustainable environment. From a very, very legal perspective, both the Paris Agreement and very recent ICJ advisory opinion on climate change emphasizes that a state must respect and promote human rights when addressing climate change. So when it comes to Southeast Asia, some countries are playing very important role in critical mineral supply chain, like Indonesia and the Philippines. Both are key producer for nickel. Vietnam and Myanmar are very important player for rare earth elements, and Malaysia is a very important player in processing and refining of the rare earth elements. However, as I said, there are some very important players, but there are still some important governance issue here. For instance, just to give you one example, we can look at a very recent report by UNICRI, which highlighted the crime associated with critical minerals in Southeast Asia and was issued this year, some month ago. So when we are thinking about human rights-based approach and then just an inclusive, approach, we need to think about an international framework. And fortunately, there is an emerging international human rights-based framework, which is complemented by two very recent and important international advisory opinion from the ICJ and the Inter-American Court of Human Rights. So when we think and we speak about international perspective, international legal perspective, some people, the first thing that comes up to the mind, some people say that permanent sovereignty of natural resource is the main and most important relevant customary international law. It's right, but we know that it's not the only thing that exists in international law. And states have many other, international obligations that should be, that they must respect, including environmental and human rights obligation. The current international frameworks, includes but not limited to UN guiding principles on business and human rights, as well as the UN Secretary General's CETM panel, which issued its 2024 report and 2025 guidance for action. All of these frameworks emphasizes that human rights must be at the core of the entire mineral value chain. But in terms of the EU, we know EU has provided one of the most comprehensive legal frameworks for governing these minerals. It has developed key legal and policy tools, including the Critical Raw Material Act, the EU Principle for Sustainable Raw Material 2021, the battery regulation, and battery directives, and the conflict mineral regulation. But here I'm just focusing on Critical Raw Material Act as a key instrument for securing a resilient and sustainable supply of critical materials. So this act promotes efficiency and circularity across the entire value chain of the critical materials. And it's complemented by the other regulation that I already mentioned. And it lists 34 critical raw materials. Out of them, 17 are considered strategic. It also sets clear benchmarks for 2030. For instance, it says that 10% of the EU's annual consumption should come from extraction within the EU, or it says that no more than 65% from a single third country for any strategic raw material. So the other very important thing which exists in this act is strategic projects. This act introduces strategic projects by making financing and administration easier and by streamlining permitting, but at the same time taking into account environmental standards. So private companies can apply for a strategic project status, which elevates a project to a public interest status and give it access to associate benefits. The Commission can revoke a strategic project status if the criteria are no longer met. So it means that those associated benefits will disappear if the company is not anymore meeting those criteria. So a strategic project can even be developed outside the EU through mainly strategic partnership. By 2025, the Commission had officially recognized 47 strategic projects within the EU and 13 outside. So to be designated as a strategic project under the Critical Mineral Raw Material Act, a project must be technically feasible, contribute meaningfully to the EU security of raw material supply, must be implemented in a sustainable manner, must ensure transparency, must provide benefits that cross borders within the EU, or have mutually beneficial impact for third countries. So sustainability is a central part for being considered as a, strategic project. And project must monitor, prevent, and minimize environmental impacts, address social risks by respecting human rights, indigenous rights, labor rights, and meaningfully with, engagement with local communities, and they should maintain transparent business practices, and so on and so forth. And when it comes to indigenous rights, specifically, project promoter must submit a dedicated plan if the project may affect indigenous community. And in terms of the evaluation, the European Commission evaluates compliance by checking adherence to EU laws and international laws through acceptance of certified voluntary industry schemes or by itself. So there are two ways that Commission can just assess the compliance. Although there are some criticism against this third-party, certification, but I believe that this act still is a model, can be a model for many other regimes and countries, because it's been successful in striking a balance between sustainability and security at the same time. But when it comes to ASEAN, there is at the moment there is no ASEAN-wide adopted definition about critical materials. There is no list about these materials. There is no even definition about these critical raw materials. I mean, in the ASEAN levels, of course, in terms of when it goes to the countries by countries, there are definitions and lists, but in ASEAN level, there is no. There are some very important general legal instruments in ASEAN, like ASEAN Charter of 2007, which is the only binding instrument in ASEAN, and which promotes human rights, protecting human rights and fundamental freedoms. And there are some other general, legal instrument in ASEAN, which provide a legal, framework for governing critical minerals. But there are also some specialized instrument as well. For instance, there is one ASEAN Plan of Action for Energy Cooperation, which the new one, which covers 2026 to 2013, just issued last month in October. And when we go through this document, which is relevant to it's a blueprint for the whole ASEAN regime. So it says about the aims, objectives of relevant to energy industry of the whole regime. But when we go through this document, we cannot find any even a single word about critical minerals. And there is another blueprint document for minerals, which is called ASEAN Minerals Cooperation Action Plans. The same, that the new one covers from 2026 to 2013. And in this plan of action, there is no specific, concern or issues about justice, human rights, and other sustainability issues or indigenous rights. As my final point, I want to highlight some of the key challenges in governing critical energy transition minerals in ASEAN, and then suggest areas to prioritize. I know that there has been some progress in this regime, and from 2019 to so far, there have been more attention to sustainability issues when it comes to critical minerals, but still it's too little. And the most important thing is when although there are some reference to critical minerals or to sustainability, but it's so fragmented. For instance, when it goes to energy documents or energy cooperation documents, it doesn't speak about critical minerals. When it comes to mining blueprints, it doesn't speak about justice or human rights or sustainability. And there is no comprehensive, and coherent document which covers critical minerals as a step, necessary step for just transition, as an step for, energy life cycle. So another thing is there is no list of priorities or something that exists in EU as a strategic project. There is no such a thing in ASEAN. So ASEAN doesn't know that which project should be prioritized and how they want to accelerate the process and how they want to be sure that they are safeguarding environmental and social risks at the same time. So it's suggested that ASEAN ministers can think about having such, categories under which they can prioritize some projects, but still have a very strict environmental and social, criteria, but at the same time, mainstreaming, accelerating administrative and financial issues for those
Dr. Hazrati,
projects.
please conclude your presentation. Time is up.
Yeah. Okay. The last thing I want to mention, just as the very final point, is that the compliance, as we have in the EU, we need, in ASEAN, we need a very independent organization that assess, evaluate the compliance of, private companies by those criteria that will be submitted by the document I already mentioned. So that brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention, and I would be happy to answer your question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hazrati.